many women falling prey to priests. Not because priests are immoral.
Okay.
No. But the reason is priests have been trained to listen.
Okay.
And when women go to priests, present their issues, they feel heard.
Okay.
They feel they owe this man. This man understands their inner problems, their inner self.
Okay.
And they become vulnerable to these priests. If marriage is sustained by sexual intimacy, and if our definition of sexual intimacy is just physical, then there's a problem. Because what happens when there's illness, when there is an accident, but the other is alive? Then the other says, no, I was doing this. What was I expected to do? There are many marriages, men and women, mostly men, who are not deriving any sexual pleasure in their homes. They are not allowed to touch their wives. Why? Because they are retired now. They no longer have money.
Sure.
They are struggling.
Welcome to the Tok Podcast, where we uncover the hidden truths and untold stories. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guest, and they aim to bring light to the unspoken realities of life. The content shared here is for informational purposes only, and it is not intended to replace professional advice. Listener discretion is advised. Now, to the podcast.
True talk, voices up loud and clear, loud and clear. True talk, what you need to hear. True talk, breaking it down. True talk, all over town.
And welcome to another episode of Tok Podcast, Season 2. We're talking about relationships, and today's topic is cheat with bae. That may seem weird, but we want to talk about intimacy. And you notice I said we have a guest today, but before that I want to say you can check us out on Spotify as well, and if you want a t-shirt you can reach out to us in the comments section. And I'm Jason, the soulful nerd, and I'm here with the Bible nerd. last season we were quoting Bible nerds left, right and center, but today I have a Bible nerd. How are you, sir? Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And you are?
I'm Pastor Clifford Sibanda.
Okay.
I am a human being, a man, a married man, and a father of a son and a daughter.
Okay. And you're also a marriage counselor, marriage officer.
Yes, I've conducted a few marriages, and I've been a marriage counselor for, I think, since 2007.
Okay.
Yeah, a marriage officer, registered as a marriage officer in Zimbabwe.
Okay. Well, thank you. And so you're the best person to teach us about intimacy. I don't know if I should talk about a wedding. The last time I saw you as a marriage officer at a certain wedding where a certain man who will remain unnamed because I don't want to be fired from the podcast ended his vows by washing feet. We had his tebe and other things. He's a romantic guy. He should have been the one asking about intimacy, but I suppose he thought I need to learn, since my idea of romance is a teddy bear, a box of chocolates, and a rose. Yeah. Anyway, and getting into the show, I asked some people on my WhatsApp status last year actually. I said, what do women wish men understood about women? And a friend, I changed the name, I'll call it Dekma. She said, small things matter to us than what you think. A simple sorry when I express my feelings goes a long way than presents, and spoiling me ain't about big things. Even buying me an ice mint, wrap it with a handwritten note is all I may need to feel loved. Yeah, so I decided to call the section freshly minted questions after the ice mint. So what is it about guys that we like to concentrate on grand gestures, because she's saying, it doesn't always have to be grand gestures. Sometimes a little thing matters.
Excellent. Maybe the starting point, let's start with the problem.
Okay.
The problem is many of us have assumed, the major assumption is intimacy is deriving pleasure from marriage. And whose pleasure? My pleasure. Sin has made us to be inward looking, self-centered, and it has made us to be histrionic. By histrionic is, I'm saying, we are focusing on our own pleasure. Self is on the top of the agenda.
Okay.
And therefore, when we talk about intimacy, is the major question that comes into our mind is, how can I derive pleasure from this woman?
Okay.
Not how can I give you pleasure, but how can I derive pleasure from her?
Okay.
And same thing with the woman is, how can I derive pleasure from a man? And this is what has created a lot of crisis. The problem is we have inverted values where we enter into marriage with the idea of getting. And as long as you get into a marriage or you get into a relationship with the idea of getting, then you won't get anything.
That's ironic. That's ironic. Oh, thank you. Okay, so the grand gesture is he thinks, if I give something big, then I'll get something big back.
Yes.
Men are such a...
And men, as they get into those relationships, is I want to derive maybe sexual gratification. I want to gratify my body.
Okay.
And at times, even the starting point itself is weird. You look at the appearance of the woman, is the morphology of the woman exciting you?
Okay.
And if it's exciting you, then it means the more pleasure you'll get. And as you try to derive that pleasure, you realize there is nothing. And the woman, as well as she gets into the relationship, she thinks, I can get money from this man. I can be flattered by this man. This man is always on top of the world. He can give me prestige. And as you get into the relationship, you realize, no, this is a broken man who has no money, who has no happiness. He is just depressed. Then what you wanted to get, you're not getting.
Okay.
But if you get into the relationship with the idea of what can I give to this woman? What can I give to this man? You will never run out of gifts.
Okay.
That's what I can say.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm learning. So I have to forget about roses and chocolates and teddy bears, and think about. I remember, because I also wanted to ask, when I listened to what the lady said here, it seems she wants the man to listen to her. I don't know how to put it. Because when she says, no, it doesn't always have to be big gestures, just something small is enough, or a sorry when I tell you how I feel. I just wanted you to say sorry, that's enough. You don't have to go big. So is it that are a lot of marriages, are a lot of wives suffering because they don't feel they're heard, they don't feel the man is listening?
Very good question. Actually, Dale Carnegie, some years ago, wrote a book on how to win friends and influence people.
Okay.
Profound book. And he said, the problem in the world is that we have a shortage of speakers.
Okay.
So we have many speakers, but we have few listeners.
Okay.
And if we would have more listeners, we would address most of the problems that are there in the world.
Okay.
It's the same thing in marriage. It's the same thing in relationships. Everyone wants to speak.
Okay.
Wants to speak about himself or about herself, wants to present a litany of problems. You get there, she will tell you 1, 2, 3 things, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the man as well wants to present his enumerate all his problems on earth and have somebody listening.
Okay.
But if we can listen, it will help, because as Dale Carnegie says, many people want to speak. And one of the starting point in intimacy is the ability to communicate. And communication, one of the major ingredients of communication is listening, both passive and active listening. Where you are listening intimately, you are provoking the other to speak. And that is why actually you see many women falling prey to priests. Not because priests are immoral.
Okay.
No. But the reason is priests have been trained to listen.
Okay.
And when women go to priests, present their issues, they feel heard.
Okay.
They feel they owe this man. This man understands their inner problems, their inner self.
Okay.
And they become vulnerable to these priests.
Okay.
And if men were to make their wives vulnerable to them, is by the art of listening. Learn to listen to your wife. Provoke her to speak. Listen to her. Actively listen to her. Listen to your girlfriend. And that does not take money. It does not take KFC, chicken in, whatever. It just takes an ear. Listen. Allow her. And when somebody is heard, that person feels extremely important, heard, and understood. And as she speaks, and as he speaks, you should be able to see the unspoken messages.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is very fundamental.
Well, thank you. Okay. Now I want to read another Bible nerd. His name is Richard M. Davidson. I think I've only heard him speak once. A very interesting man. There was a paper he wrote in 1988. It's called The Theology of Sexuality in the Beginning, Genesis 1-2. And he says, the one flesh relationship certainly involves the sexual union, sexual intercourse. The physical act of coitus may even be in view in this passage as the primary means of establishing the innermost mystery of oneness. But this is by no means all that is included. The term basar, flesh, in the Old Testament refers not only to one's physical body, but to a person's whole existence in the world. By one flesh is thus connoted mutual dependence and reciprocity in all areas of life, a unity that embraces the natural lives of two persons in their entirety. It indicates a oneness and intimacy in the total relationship of the whole person of the husband to the whole person of the wife. Let's flesh it out. Now we start. I'm so glad that Dr. Davidson here mentioned that the intimacy that's being spoken about here is not just sexual, because I think, well, I can only speak for my generation. I think too often we've limited intimacy to being just about sex. Okay, fine, and people want to know about styles and positions and all that stuff. And then sometimes I'm tempted to say, okay, yeah, we've spoken about sex. Now you have another 23 hours and 58 minutes in the rest of the day to work on intimacy elsewhere. But I mean, what does it mean to say you share a whole existence in the world?
To understand that text, we go back to Genesis 2 verse 18.
Okay.
And God said, it is not good for a man to be alone.
Okay.
And I will make him a helpmate.
Okay.
So Genesis 2 verse 24 is presented in the context of Genesis 2, in the background of Genesis chapter 2 verse 18.
Okay.
That God is providing this helpmate. And therefore, this is where he says in verse 24, therefore a man shall leave his father and mother, cleave unto his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. And what is this one flesh? It's also informed by our theology of humanity.
Okay.
What is a human being? What is a human being? A human being is a composite whole. He is not just one element, it's just the flesh, or it's just the soul. These are in entirety. They are a unity, an unbreakable unity.
Okay.
So the unity is not just the unity of the flesh alone.
Okay.
Without the soul being attached as well, without the souls being knit together.
Okay.
So it is an entire bond. So it brings up sexuality. What is this sexuality? What does it, from sex, what is it that we achieve? I'll say about 3 things. Number 1, sex is intended to bond 2 people, to bond 2 souls, both body and flesh. It should provide unity between a man and a woman. And secondly, because of sex, after the 2 have bonded, it should also provide pleasure for these 2 people.
Okay.
It's not just for bonding, but there should be pleasure. So sexuality should not be a painful act. The very act of intimacy, the intercourse itself, should not be a painful act.
Okay.
But it should provide pleasure, not for one, but for the 2 of them. And we should not enter it with the idea of saying, what pleasure can I get from this person? But what is it that I can do that can make this person happy?
Okay.
And then the 3rd thing that we should get from sex is for procreation. Okay. It does not mean that every sexual act should lead to procreation.
Okay.
Actually, there are 2 extremes.
Yeah, that would be expensive.
One extreme is the Augustinian view.
Okay.
Augustine said sex is not good. It can only be done for procreation.
Yeah.
And if there is no procreation, there should be no sex. That's where the idea comes from, which says the fruit, the forbidden fruit that was
sex.
eaten, it was sex, which is not true.
Okay.
It cannot be true at all. But anyway, he says when people have sex, the Holy Spirit leaves the room until after the sexual intimacy has been accomplished, then the Holy Spirit can come back. Okay. So the medieval view of sex was, as much as possible, desist from sex.
Okay.
Because the trumpet may sound and the 2 of you might be having sex and you cannot make it to heaven.
Okay.
As long as
Holy Spirit is gone.
Is gone.
Okay.
Yes.
And this came from Augustine's Neoplatonic anthropological dualism, where he believed the human is a spirit waiting to escape the flesh. And
excellent. Yeah. You have mentioned it very well. To him, there was a dichotomy between the flesh and the spirit.
Yeah.
What pleases the flesh is not what pleases the spirit.
Okay.
So there was this distinction between the spirit and the flesh. And this is one of the views that are there, that sex is only meant to provide pleasure to our physical domain.
Yeah.
But it does not impact our the domain of the soul or our affective domain, but it's only for our physical domain, which is not true. The entirety of the person, the intimacy, it should be so engrossing, so much engulfing the entire person, the entire being. So then the 3rd, procreation. So that's one extreme, the Augustinian. Then the other extreme is the Playboy view, which says sex is for pleasure. As long as you are deriving pleasure,
it's fine.
Just do it. It's fine.
Okay.
If you are a married couple, you want to have anal sex as a married couple, it's fine. Okay. As long as you are enjoying it.
Okay.
And to us, no, it should not be, because there is health, there is the safety of the other person. And if you engage in anal sex, oral sex, is this ultimately protecting the other person. There are health issues connected to it.
I'm glad you've brought this up because I've had questions, especially maybe the Playboy view in recent years. I think as late as last year, I remember somebody saying, play out your fantasies, don't hold back. But I said jokingly to some of the other guys afterwards, after the talk, and then I said, well, I'm uncomfortable with that because what if my wife's fantasy is that I should be in a bra and panties and she's asking me, who's your zetzi, and I'm thinking, I would not be comfortable with that. In essence, what I was saying was, and I've said it before elsewhere, that the trouble with making pleasure a reference point is that you can actually teach yourself to find pleasure in anything. So your reference point is always shifting. And you don't know when you've gone too far. And for instance, there are questions about health. How healthy is it? I think not only physically, but mentally, about how you begin to view each other. But I'm also curious about the Augustinian side, where what effect would that have on, what effect would that sort of attitude to sexuality have on a marriage?
Very good. Actually,
even outside the bedroom.
This is the view that has defined most marriages in the Christian thought. The medieval view had a profound impact on our theology.
Okay.
Informed mainly by Greek philosophy, as you have rightly mentioned, the Platonic view of sex. And this is why you would find the Catholic priests would not marry, because marriage would compromise their connection with the Lord.
Okay.
Sex itself would compromise their devotional life.
Okay.
Similarly, you have what was known as the monastic Christianity, the monasteries, where Christians were going to monasteries and they would live separately. Men alone, women by themselves.
Okay.
No marriage, no intimacy. And as Augustine had said, the greatest sin is concupiscence. The act of sex itself is extremely sinful.
Okay.
And when we come even to the Reformation, yes, Martin Luther got married. But the views of marriage have less emphasis on sexual intimacy.
Okay.
Marriage is mainly a rite. It's a rite which is done without emotion.
Okay.
It is a connection. It is a bonding process, but that is devoid of emotion.
Okay.
And it affects even our theology, because this thought was God is a God who has no emotions.
Okay.
This is a God who says, who cannot smile.
Okay.
This is the concept of God that was in the medieval era. So our concept of sex is also informed by our concept of God.
Okay.
We have a God who never smiles, a God who never laughs,
Okay.
a God. This is our view of God, a God who is stoic, who is always rigid, mechanical.
Okay.
So our marriages as well have become like that in Christianity. So there is little playing in marriage.
Okay.
And they'll tell you, you're behaving like children. We're adults, man. Let's treat ourselves like adults.
Okay.
And this is how we have been programmed in our Christianity, that we cannot have this space where we can laugh with our mates, smile, and walk around holding each other's hands. It appears unholy. It looks unholy. It looks childish. It's informed by the Augustinian view of sexuality. They should be defined. Actually, if you notice, most Christian churches, there were distinctions. Men would be on their side, women on the left, men on the right.
Okay.
And in most Christian churches, even when I grew up,
Okay.
this is how it used to be. It was men on the right,
Okay.
women on the left.
Sure.
It's the few who would see it only with European missionaries who would sit together.
Okay.
But Christians who had been groomed by Studeventi
Okay.
would not sit together
Sure.
in a sanctuary. Walk softly in the sanctuary, behave yourself. You cannot sit close to your mate.
So that's why some people think it's scandalous for a husband to sit with his arm around his wife's shoulders in church. I always thought people who were scandalized by that were weird because I couldn't see what was wrong with it. But I guess I'm weird like that.
Yes, because you say holiness has been connected. Our concept of holiness is not just purity, but it is a space where there is nothing which is human within, without any taint of humanity in it. So marriage has been seen as a human institution, which is meant to give pleasure to the human being, and therefore, because it won't be there in heaven, it's because it's unholy.
Okay.
That is the idea.
Okay.
It's just meant to provide procreation here on earth, but when we get to heaven, the Bible says so. We shall be like angels.
Okay.
But our concept of therefore our concept of marriage is something dirty. Our concept of sex, it's something dirty. It is a necessary evil.
Okay.
Because we need to procreate.
Okay.
But outside procreation, there's no marriage. And it goes to this next question. One of the problems is, if marriage or sexuality is just about pleasure and marriage is just about sex and getting intimacy, getting fulfillment from the pleasure,
Okay.
those marriages are in trouble because one can have a stroke. There can be disease in the marriage. Then, if marriage is sustained by sexual intimacy, and if our definition of sexual intimacy
It's
is
physical.
just physical, then there's a problem. Because what happens when there's illness, when there is an accident, but the other is alive? Then the other says, no, I was doing this. What was I expected to do? You cannot fulfill my needs. You see, yeah, it's self. Me, it's...
I remember a man who told me, we were walking and chatting, he was my supervisor at some point. Anyway, so he says to me, Jason, if my wife lost her sexual functionality, I would just tell her to know, look, I'll keep supporting you and providing for you, but I have to get someone on the side. And I thought, okay, well, I listened quietly. I didn't want to get fired, so I didn't comment. I just listened and chuckled. But yeah, I this is expanding my mind that, and I think it's not a very common idea out there that sexual intimacy, it goes beyond just the physical. It's greater. But then now I get to worry. Does intimacy and individuality at odds? Because if it seems now we've become one flesh, I mean, am I disappearing into my wife?
There used to be a saying, it should be in the 70s, which was, let us go our separate ways together.
Okay.
And the idea was, you don't lose your individuality in marriage.
Okay.
And marriage is not there to destroy your personality, your uniqueness, your unique contribution that the Lord has given you to provide.
Okay.
The idea of the word which is used, Genesis 2 verse 24, is the two shall become one flesh. And the word which is used there is a heart. This is the same word you'll find Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God
Is one
God. And it's the same word a heart. We believe we have God who is 3 persons, made of 3 distinct persons, but being one God.
Okay.
The members of the Godhead have distinct personalities.
Okay.
There is God the Father, there is God the Son, there is God the Holy Spirit. Each has his distinct personality. Each has his will.
Okay.
He is one God, not they. He is one God, but there is distinct personality. Okay. That is the same in marriage. You are not there to bury your personality. You bury your thinking. That is why Ananias and Sapphira, they are condemned, both of them. Okay. Because Ananias could not say it was because of Sapphira that I made this decision. Actually, it's the same thing with Adam and Eve. Mm-hmm. They were trying to give the excuse that it is this wife that you gave me. Okay. I take no responsibility for. But marriage is there to affirm your will, but also refine your will, make you a better person. But the will should not be lost. If you find your will is getting lost because of marriage, then there is a problem. Okay. We don't support Golobela. This way, when people get into marriage,
mixed herbs you won't find at the shops.
Yeah, then you use an aphrodisiac, which makes you to lose your individuality. I am doing this as long as it pleases him, as long as it pleases her, I'll do it. No, it can't be.
How can I know the difference between not being selfish and losing my individuality? Because I suspect sometimes if somebody wants to rob you of your individuality, he or she might say, stop being selfish.
Yes. Actually, one of the counsels is you are not ready for marriage until you have embraced singlehood.
Okay.
If you cannot live as a single person, you are not yet ready to get married. Because it's possible for you, soon after marriage, your spouse dies. What happens? Do you die?
Some do.
Some do, yes. Yes, it's not an easy thing to handle, for sure. We have to be sensitive to their emotions. But it does not mean that because the other is dead, you are dying. There is still life ahead of you.
Okay.
So you should learn to cope as a single person, learn to embrace life as a single person. If you think you will start living when you get married, you will discover that you are better off as a single person.
Okay.
And you are better off. It would have been better for you to have remained single. You would have accomplished more for the Lord. If you say I'm lying, you think I'm lying, go and ask Samson. He would have been in a better position by himself. He would have accomplished more by himself. Okay. So you are not being selfish. You have accepted who you are, okay, and your uniqueness. And if somebody is coming to tell you that I want to remodel you in my own fashion, in my own liking, the person you are marrying is not God.
Okay.
He is not there. You have been created by God.
Yeah.
Unique. You are yourself. She is herself.
Which is why Adam was asleep when the woman was created, to avoid him thinking he had something to do in her creation.
He had no contribution at all.
Yeah.
Yes. So, in as much as there are many things that change, because you're married, there are many things that will change in you, for sure. And you have to accept this. Some for good, some for not for the best. True marriage will do that to you. But at the same time, you have to embrace your individuality. If somebody is there to destroy who you are and say, no, the way you speak, I don't like it. Okay. Speak this way, I'll be happy. The way you walk is not the best way. Walk this way, I'll be happy. Okay. The way you relate to people is not the right one. do it this way, I'll be happy. That person is not helping you. That person is destroying you.
Okay.
You have not married God. That person is not there to rule over you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. Now, I want to... Where I got the title for this episode was... There was he's dead now. He died in 1985 when I was a year old. His name was Richard Neese. And I was listening to some of his talks. And he said that at the core of every extramarital affair is a man and a woman goading each other by a catch-22 of relentless pursuit and unbridled response, respectively. Saying some men think, okay, now I'm having an affair. She responds better than my wife, and then he would say it's because you're pursuing her. So you're in your pursuing her, she's responding. And so he would say, humorously though, that he believed a lot of marriages would be saved if husbands and wives had affairs with each other, where instead of pursuing other women, pursue your wife, and then she'll respond. And he's saying that cycle would actually deepen the intimacy. Does that make sense, or is that weird?
It takes us to the Bible, back to the Bible. His mercies are new every morning.
Okay.
This is how God deals with us. Every morning, He has something new in store for us.
Okay.
And this is how marriage should unravel.
Okay.
There should be a newness. Every day must be a day of renewal. You should be thinking every day, what is it that is new that I will do for this woman? What is it that is new that I will do for this man? For this man?
Okay.
Every day must be an aha moment. And unfortunately, we as human beings, we end up gravitating towards the routine. And once marriage gets routine, it is bound to hit the rocks.
Okay.
What people are searching for in a new relationship is something new, an aha moment.
Okay.
And as long as it is new, it will always be a bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh.
Okay.
But after some days, it will be this woman that you gave me. So we should, as much as possible, keep that newness. And from what you said at the beginning, it's not about big things.
Okay.
It's about a flower.
Okay.
Bringing a flower.
Yeah.
Saying, I just brought you this flower. I brought you this sweet. I just thought about you. Sending a WhatsApp message during the day. Hi, how are you? I just thought about you. Those seemingly trivial messages, they mean a lot, because marriage is about renewal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing that God created, umfazi abe yisisu. Some women don't like it when I say that. When I say, no, woman is a stomach, and they say, like, Jason, what do you mean? I say, okay, you ate yesterday, yeah, and what did your stomach say in the morning? I'm hungry. So you can never actually, as something men, as you grow, you begin to realize, I know this creature, what I did yesterday and what I did a million years ago are the same thing. Each day is a new day, so mercies have to be renewed, which is different, I think, from how we as men relate to each other. I can do something good. I can help Mac out today, and we'll still be friends for 5 years, even if we don't talk. Mostly because Mac, can't live without me as his friend. But I guess it becomes then different in marriage. That for me as a man, it means I would have to be creative all the time, which explains I'm made in God's image. He's a creative God, so I have to be creative and intentional and think what new mercy can I bring today.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, it's actually I'm happy you brought that analogy of the
the stomach.
Of the stomach, the human physiology, how we are, God could have created us in such a way that we don't need to eat. We live forever without the need for eating.
Yeah.
But people were eating even before sin, before the emergence of sin. Why? In order for us to enjoy what God has created for our benefit, that every day we eat, we get a newness, a sense of renewal. And we also have a sense of divine providence, what God is doing for us every morning. Same thing with marriage. It's not about having an anniversary, remembering the day you got married, but it's every moment of life that you have to spend together. Give it life, give it flesh, make it meaningful, every second meaningful, just like every meal. If it's in Fusho, every day in Fusho, or Isinyeve, Ulute, every day, you are bound to have the worst moments with your meals.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess like a meal, you can have a meal plan. Can you also have an intimacy plan, a scheduling, making time for? Because I think some people think intimacy has to be random all the time. And if you're not the kind of person who can be spontaneous constantly, I think that would be difficult.
True. I think each couple is unique.
Okay.
And let's allow each couple to... Some are much more effective if they are systematic, if they can say, Monday is our day for prayer.
Okay.
Tuesday is our day for sexual intimacy.
Okay.
And Wednesday, it's our day for exercise. Thursday is our day once more for sexual intimacy.
Okay.
Then Friday is our day for prayer as we prepare for the Sabbath. Okay. Some couples function more effectively that way. And if you have it that way programmed, it gets into your system, and you miss the other. When the other is away, you feel really it's Thursday. If John was here, if James was here, we would be praying together. This is Tuesday. I wish he was here. He would be holding me in his arms. That is effective.
Okay.
Some couples are spontaneous, and they just enjoy the spontaneity, the unpredictability, and it makes them to have fun. So, but ultimately, what should be there is, unique as the couple must be, maybe live your lives together happily, and your focus must, what is it in my spontaneity is not what I can spontaneously receive, but what can I do spontaneously for the benefit of the other.
Okay, thank you for that. And what big things get in the way of basar, of being one flesh? And how can we avoid them? What are the biggest things you've seen that get in the way of that?
Excellent question. Several. We live in a world of sin. The foundation, the major crack that has brought, separated humanity from God and humanity from humanity is sin. Isaiah 59, verse 1 and 2. Sin separates humanity from God. And as it separates humanity from God, it also distances us from each other.
Okay.
Greed. Sin is manifested in greed.
Okay.
Greed. There are some couples, women and women. Men who want to use their mates as sex objects. Just there is no foreplay at all. It's
boom, just
happens, and after the intercourse, there is no discussion. The other is just falling asleep and waiting for the next day. Nothing. Following day, when he gets sexually excited, he just lands without a parachute. He has he just descended. And this is how the life is lived. That turns the other off.
Okay.
That this person, he is using me for his own pleasure. He doesn't care about me, what has been happening during the day. He never sent a WhatsApp message to say, how are you? He never sent a flower. He never thought about me. But once we got into bed, he just turned on.
Okay.
And he has now become a gentleman.
I could die during sex and he wouldn't tell.
He can't. He's not what he's interested in. Actually, he could even have sex with a corpse. If that was allowed, he could even have sex with me right in my deathbed.
Okay.
So this
Greed.
is motivated by greed.
Okay.
Something you have both men and women who also want to derive financial gratification from the other.
Okay.
Actually, there are conditions. If you don't buy me a car, please don't touch me.
Sure.
Yeah. If this money, if you have not yet given me, if you have not signed to give me this money, please don't touch me.
Sure.
I heard that you are getting your benefits from this company. I heard you're getting 1,500,000 is mine.
Sure.
Before you sign that is coming to me, please don't touch me. Anything you do is rape. Once this happens, the other feels I'm being used here.
Okay.
This person does not care about me. She cares about herself. He cares about himself. He is or she is here to milk me of my resources.
Okay.
And
that sounds like an objectification of sorts.
a lot of it. Actually, you have made the other an object of your pleasure.
Okay.
And this is what prevails in many relationships.
Okay.
That as long as you give me the money, I'll give it to you. I'll do it for you. And once the money runs dry, there are many marriages, men and women, mostly men, who are not deriving any sexual pleasure in their homes. They are not allowed to touch their wives. Why? Because they are retired now. They no longer have money.
Sure.
They are struggling. They have gone to church. They have prayed about it. They cannot, because there is no money that you are getting.
Sure.
So you don't touch me.
Okay.
Let those who have money touch me.
Sure. That's deep. That's deep. That's sad. And lastly, as we come to a close, okay, when these things have come in and intimacy is broken down, how do you rebuild it?
Okay. Maybe I didn't talk about the other aspects like illness.
Okay.
That's one of the, also exercise. I always encourage young people that please take care of your body.
Okay.
Young as you are, don't allow yourself unnecessarily to age too quickly.
Okay.
Wake up, exercise your body, keep yourself fit.
Okay.
Because this is one thing that your mate looks at and it turns him on or turns him off. Turns her on, turns her off.
Okay.
When she sees you aging, you are 40, but you look like a 70-year-old man.
Okay.
You are 30, you look like an 80-year-old woman. This compromises intimacy.
Okay.
Look good. Take care of yourself. Some of the, and sorry for getting excited, but or angry rather.
Okay.
Simple things, brushing teeth.
Okay.
Somebody just gets into a bed. He has not brushed the teeth. They smell as though he has just eaten
With sock.
stockings. And how do you expect somebody to kiss you? To kiss such a mouth? Take care of your body. How your armpits are smelling.
Sure.
You get into bed. Read in the Song of Songs how a bed is prepared. A bed for intimacy is prepared. And you read about the adulterous woman in the book of Proverbs. How does she prepare a hair bed?
Okay.
And understand what is it that turns the other person on. So these are basics, common sense, but at times common sense is not as common as we would want it to be.
Okay.
Simple things, brushing teeth, taking yourself, putting on putting on perfume. It's not sinful to put on perfume. It's not sinful. And some of these deodorants are very cheap. $1, they can last you for about 6-7 for 2-3 months with a simple deodorant. So those are basics. And also, as I've said, keep yourself healthy. Yes, there is disease. It doesn't mean that if you keep yourself healthy, you won't be visited by disease.
Okay.
Yes, it will come. But as much as possible, prevent disease from coming. Because when there is disease, it obviously affects your virility, your capacity to perform, and the quality of intimacy. But as I've said, intimacy must not just be defined by this momentary excitement. The bedroom. Even when there's disease, the love, the affection, when the souls are bonded to one another.
Okay.
Even when there's disease, the romantic aura will still be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And from what you've said, it's apparent that although many people think the Bible wants to make us less sexual, it seems the Bible wants to make us more sexual, from what you've mentioned, and going deep into how sexuality comes. Our sexuality comes from God Himself. God actually wants our sexuality not to be limited to the bedroom. It starts before you get in and continues after you leave. From the stuff you've given us, and which has been really helpful. I wanted to read one last text before we go out. It's from Song of Solomon, 2 verse 5. And it sucks for Mac because I'm reading from the Contemporary English Version. And it says, "Refresh and strengthen me with raisins and apples. I am hungry for love." Yeah. Thank you for coming through, Pastor Sibanda. I've learned a lot. I know Mac has learned a lot too, wherever he is. We probably may call you back again to teach us more about intimacy. But to you, thank you for joining us today, for going out. And remember that sexuality is not unholy, but it's a little more. It's a lot more than just physical. We'll be back next time with a different guest and discussing even more important things about umjolo. Like, subscribe, share, and see you next time. So from me, the soulful nerd, and from Pastor Sibanda, the Bible nerd, peace.